Welcome to our channel. Today we explore the extraordinary yet heartbreaking story behind Tyrone Power, an iconic figure of Hollywood's golden age who tragically passed away at just 44 years old on the set of Solomon and Sheba after ignoring critical warnings about a life-threatening condition. From his meteoric rise to fame to the mounting pressures that overshadowed his personal life, Tyrone Power's journey is a testament to both the dazzling allure and the hidden perils of stardom. Join us as we delve into the captivating life and legacy of a man whose brilliance burned brightly before its untimely end. Early life. Born on May 5, 1914 in Cincinnati, Ohio, Tyrone Power was the son of a family deeply rooted in the arts. His father, Tyrone Power Sr., was a renowned stage and film actor, while his mother, Helen Emma R., came from a lineage rich in artistic tradition. It seemed that destiny had paved the way for Tyrone's artistic journey from the moment he was born. The Power lineage actually traced back to notable stage actors from the 19th century, granting Tyrone a prestigious surname that was practically synonymous with theatrical excellence. His father, Tyrone Power Sr., was not only an accomplished stage actor, but also had appeared in silent films and early talkies, bridging two distinct eras of cinematic evolution. This cross-generational presence in the entertainment sphere meant that Tyrone Power Jr., as he would sometimes be called to distinguish him from his father, grew up steeped in theatrical traditions, everything from Victorian-style stage presence to the more modern forms of film acting. While his father's theatrical prestige provided a guiding star, the reality of Tyrone Power Sr.'s busy touring schedule was that the younger Tyrone was frequently left without a paternal figure at crucial developmental stages. Living in California with his mother, Helen, and sister meant that Tyrone's emotional support system was relatively small and often tenuous. In many interviews and recollections from friends, it is noted that Tyrone was a sensitive child who felt the instability of his parents' strained marriage very acutely. The divorce, though common enough in Hollywood circles, still carried societal stigma in the 1920s and early 1930s, leaving Tyrone to grapple with questions of identity and belonging. Yet his mother's encouragement was unwavering. Helen was said to be a gentle but firm presence, urging young Tyrone to cultivate the skill and discipline needed for a future in acting. She recognized that for all of Tyrone's natural charm, professional training was essential. Her emphasis on diction and stage presence would prove invaluable when Tyrone eventually gravitated to Broadway. One of the most defining moments in Tyrone Power's life was the heartbreaking scene of witnessing his father collapse. It was no simple father-son bond. Tyrone Sr. was not just his parent, but also a figure he saw as an idol and a mentor. Imagine the emotional weight a 17-year-old must have carried after seeing his father, a once vigorous stage luminary, succumb to a heart condition. This event galvanized the younger Tyrone's determination. According to some family friends, he privately vowed never to let the family name fall into obscurity, a promise that would eventually drive him to extraordinary success, but also push him to ignore critical health warnings of his own later on. Hollywood during the early 1930s was notoriously difficult for newcomers without strong studio backing. Despite the Power name, nepotism was not as straightforward as one might assume. Tyrone often found himself relegated to minor roles that did not showcase his range. The frustration he felt was compounded by the sense that he was failing to honor his father's legacy. This turning point, the decision to depart Hollywood and try his luck on the stage, was monumental. Not only did it signal a willingness to abandon a faltering path, but it also highlighted his pragmatic understanding that raw talent needed both seasoning and the right circumstances to flourish. Katharine Cornell was a major Broadway luminary known for her discerning eye for talent. When she welcomed Tyrone into her theatrical fold, it validated his potential in a more serious realm than the fleeting small roles he had endured in Hollywood. The discipline of performing live, particularly in works like Romeo and Juliet, demanded rigorous preparation, voice control, and emotional depth, all attributes that eventually set him apart once he returned to film. Moreover, it was on Broadway's demanding stages that he developed a sense of timing and nuance that would be crucial in his later successes, including roles that required everything from comedic subtlety to dramatic gravitas. Career beginnings. By the mid-1930s, the studio system was in full swing, and 20th Century Fox was eager to craft a new star image that would captivate film audiences worldwide. Darryl F. Zanuck, a leading figure at Fox, was known for spotting promising talent and molding them into bankable icons. For Tyrone Power, signing with Fox meant he was entering a rigorous star-making machinery. Studios would groom actors, often dictating their public image, their social engagements, and sometimes even their romantic liaisons, anything to build and sustain the public's adoration. Though initially overshadowed by bigger releases at the time, Lloyd's of London managed to strike a chord with audiences, partly due to its blend of historical narrative and romantic drama. Power's portrayal of Jonathan Blake revealed an actor of remarkable range, seamlessly shifting from earnest vulnerability to heroic resolve. The movie also hinted at his capability to anchor grand productions, an essential trait in an era when audiences flocked to epics for escapist entertainment during the tail end of the Great Depression. When critics began praising Tyrone's performance, it signaled his arrival as a legitimate leading man, no longer just the scion of a theatrical family, but a star in his own right. From 1936 to 1939, an astonishing number of roles showcased Power's ability to pivot across genres. In An Old Chicago, 1937, he delved into historical drama. Alexander's Ragtime Band, 1938, highlighted his musical adaptability, and Jesse James, 1939, presented him as a rugged outlaw, thereby establishing an enduring cinematic persona that combined dashing good looks with an undercurrent of intensity. These were not just commercial hits. They helped shape the essence of Tyrone Power for moviegoers. A charismatic romantic hero, an adventurer, and a complex figure of moral ambiguity when the script demanded it. Box office reports from the late 1930s frequently listed Tyrone Power among the top earners, a testament to how swiftly he had captured public imagination. Fan magazines from that time were replete with stories of his personal life, his social engagements, and even flattering gossip columns, all feeding into the allure of a star whose every movie seemed to strike gold. For Tyrone personally, this newfound stardom validated his years of struggling and training. Yet it also introduced a constant scrutiny into his private affairs, foreshadowing challenges to come. A successful career. One of the hallmarks of Tyrone Power's stardom was his excellence in swashbuckling roles, a genre that included sword duels, cunning chases, and heroic exploits set against historical backdrops. The Mark of Zorro, 1940, remains the quintessential swashbuckling film of its time. Power's portrayal of Don Diego de la Vega, Zorro, combined sly wit with martial grace. This was no small feat in an era before advanced stunt choreography. Many of the sword fighting scenes were executed by the actors themselves. Basil Rathbone, a seasoned swordsman and actor who had faced off against Errol Flynn and other greats, famously commended Power's speed and reflexes. This physical commitment to roles solidified Power's reputation as an actor who took risks and mastered the rigorous demands of action cinema. As much as audiences adored his adventures, Power exhibited a remarkable talent for introspective and dramatic storytelling. In The Razor's Edge, 1946, adapted from W. Somerset Maugham's novel, Power played Larry Darrell, a World War I veteran on a spiritual quest. The performance revealed not just the character's internal turmoil, but also Power's personal affinity for exploring existential themes. The era immediately following World War II saw a shift in cultural consciousness. People were more open to stories probing humanity's deeper questions, and Power's portrayal tapped into this collective searching. Then came Nightmare Alley, 1947, a film noir that was unusually dark for its time. Power's depiction of Stanton Carlyle, an ambitious carnival worker turned manipulative con artist, subverted his swashbuckling image. Audiences who were used to seeing him as a hero were confronted with a morally compromised protagonist whose downfall was haunting. Although the film initially struggled at the box office, perhaps because fans were unprepared for such a stark, unromanticized depiction of Power, it later received critical reassessment, frequently cited as one of the best film noirs and one of Power's most riveting performances. By the early 1950s, many stars found themselves bound to studio contracts that constrained their choice of roles. Tiring of such limitations, Power broke new ground by becoming a freelance actor, a decision that afforded him greater creative freedom. This move was somewhat risky financially, given that the studio system still dominated Hollywood. Nonetheless, his star power and box office credibility allowed him to negotiate lucrative deals, such as his $1 million fee for The Eddie Duchin Story, 1956. Portraying the famed pianist Eddie Duchin demanded both musical expressiveness and the ability to convey the pathos of a life marked by tragedy. The movie resonated profoundly with audiences, confirming that Power remained a bankable star. Parallel to his film career, Power never abandoned his love for theater. Productions like Mr. Roberts offered a comedic yet poignant reflection on naval life, while The Devil's Disciple by George Bernard Shaw required an entirely different kind of intellectual and emotional commitment. The ephemeral magic of live performance reinvigorated him. His colleagues noted that stepping onto the stage brought a certain gleam to his eye, a sense of liberation from the often rigid demands of Hollywood filmmaking. Moreover, working in theater demanded constant rehearsal, direct interaction with audiences, and a willingness to adapt in real time. Challenges that Power relished as a means of keeping his craft sharp. One of the great ironies of Tyrone Power's career is that while his films were both commercial hits and generally admired by critics, he never secured an Oscar nomination or Golden Globe recognition. This omission may have been reflective of the era's preference for awarding serious performers in more traditionally dramatic roles. Nonetheless, he remained a perennial box office magnet, often out-earning many award-winning contemporaries. In many ways, his legacy underscores how accolades do not always align perfectly with cultural impact. His unmatched popularity in the 1930s and 1940s was proof of an enduring connection with audiences across genres. Personal life and tragic struggles. When Power married Annabella, a well-regarded French actress in her own right, it was seen as the union of two glamorous cinematic worlds, Hollywood and European cinema. Their courtship was filled with romantic stories of Tyrone's spontaneous gestures, such as surprising her with small gifts on set or sneaking away from studio obligations just to spend time together. Yet the illusions of a fairy tale romance soon collided with Hollywood's reality. 20th Century Fox was deeply invested in maintaining Tyrone's image as a desirable bachelor. This created a conflict of interests. Annabella, who was somewhat older and a mother, may have been perceived by studio executives as a potential threat to Tyrone's romantic allure in the public eye. Another challenge was Power's World War II military service. The separation introduced emotional distance. Upon his return, Tyrone found the film industry drastically changed, and he himself had been transformed by the war's realities. Annabella, too, had grown more independent during his absence. Attempts at reconciliation faltered against the pressures of stardom and the strain of readjusting to civilian life. If Annabella was a refined French actress, Linda Christian offered a more quintessentially Hollywood brand of glamour. Their wedding was an extravagant spectacle, featuring celebrity guests, lavish receptions, and extensive media coverage. Yet behind the scenes, Linda found life with a major star incredibly isolating. Tyrone's filming commitments often took him to remote locations for weeks, if not months, at a time. Her emotional well-being suffered, compounded by the heartbreak of multiple miscarriages. The two eventually welcomed daughters, Romina and Taryn, and for a while, the family exuded an aura of joy. But rumors about Tyrone's on-set dalliances persisted, typical of Hollywood's rumor mill. Linda's own ambition sometimes clashed with Tyrone's demanding schedule and the unrelenting gaze of tabloid paparazzi. Their eventual divorce testified to the near-impossible balancing act of celebrity marriages, especially in an age less forgiving of personal struggles. In his union with Deborah, Tyrone Power seemed to harbor hopes for a simpler domestic life. She was younger, less embroiled in Hollywood's labyrinth, and brought a sense of spontaneity that he found invigorating. Their relationship was a sharp contrast to his earlier marriages, largely free from the typical studio interference. Perhaps because Tyrone was by then a freelance actor, not a contract player whose every move was monitored. The news of her pregnancy filled Tyrone with optimistic visions of the future, including fathering a son to carry on the Power name. The tragedy of his death before meeting Tyrone Power Jr. adds a heartbreaking note to an already tumultuous personal narrative. For better or worse, Hollywood culture in the 1930s through the 1950s was rife with speculation about actors' private lives. Tyrone's undeniable appeal naturally led to rumors linking him with leading ladies such as Judy Garland, Lana Turner, and Ava Gardner. The situation with Lana Turner was particularly fraught, given the alleged pregnancy and subsequent decision to end it, an event that tabloids exploited with gusto, further complicating Tyrone's emotional landscape. Additionally, rumors circulated about his sexuality, pointing to close friendships with individuals within the LGBTQ+ community. Hollywood at that time was generally intolerant of any deviation from perceived norms, and studios often went to great lengths to manage or suppress scandals. Tyrone's refusal to confirm or deny these rumors suggests a personal need for privacy in a world that demanded transparency. It's noteworthy that many of his closest friendships were with progressive or creative figures who would have been open-minded about sexuality, an indication that Tyrone's personal circle was likely more diverse and nuanced than the public narrative suggested. Living under a constant spotlight left Tyrone exhausted. He was known to confide in close friends that he yearned for a quiet retreat, perhaps buying a property far from Hollywood where he could simply enjoy fatherhood and the serenity of a private life. However, the studio system, combined with his own drive to produce and perform, precluded such escape. Each time he embarked on a new project, the cycle of media scrutiny reignited. In modern terms, we might describe this as the toll of prolonged stress on an individual's well-being. Final years and tragic death. By the mid-1950s, Tyrone Power was juggling multiple pressures: a flourishing film career, a love for theatrical pursuits, personal family issues, and lingering stressors from the constant glare of publicity. The physical demands of roles like the Eddie Duchin story, while not involving heavy stunts, were psychologically taxing. Playing Duchin required intense emotional investment, as the narrative was riddled with tragedy. Then came Witness for the Prosecution, 1957, which showcased him in a role that blended subtlety with bursts of high tension. Critics lauded these performances, yet behind the scenes, Power was worn down, chain smoking to cope with stress and surviving on minimal rest. Medical science in the 1950s was not as advanced as it is today, but even the doctors of that era recognized danger signs in Tyrone's health. His father's cause of death, heart disease, was a glaring red flag. Doctors advised lifestyle changes, cutting back on smoking, reducing punishing work hours, and alleviating stress. Yet Tyrone's sense of responsibility to fulfill obligations, both contractual and personal, often outweighed self-care. Some historians argue that part of his fervor stemmed from a subconscious drive to surpass his father's achievements, not just artistically but also in longevity, ironically fueling the exact behavior that expedited his own health decline. Solomon and Sheba was envisioned as an epic, an ambitious biblical drama requiring location shoots in Spain, large-scale sets, and physically demanding choreography. Tyrone not only starred as King Solomon, but also had to participate in elaborate sword-fighting scenes that took place under the intense Spanish sun. The production environment was far from ideal. Days were long, demands were high, and the overall intensity left little room for rest. Eyewitness accounts from the set described Tyrone pausing to catch his breath between takes, yet he brushed aside concern from colleagues, insisting he was fine. On November 15, 1958, during a strenuous fight scene with co-star George Sanders, Tyrone Power collapsed. An immediate hush fell over the set as the crew rushed to his aid. He was transported to a nearby hospital, but it was already too late. The official cause of death was a massive heart attack. News of his passing at just 44 stunned Hollywood, interrupting a career that still had so much promise. The studio subsequently recast Yul Brynner in the role of Solomon, while the film was reworked and eventually released, with the heavy cloud of Tyrone's death overshadowing its production. Power's sudden death not only devastated his pregnant wife, Deborah, who would soon give birth to his posthumous son, but also left his 2 daughters in a state of profound grief. Hollywood, where so many felt personally connected to Tyrone, either through direct friendship or simply because of his warm, affable reputation, was plunged into mourning. Fan clubs worldwide held memorials, with gatherings in cities from Los Angeles to London, each paying homage to a star who had fallen far too soon. Legacy and influence. Though Tyrone Power's life and career ended far too soon, he left a profound impact not only on the film industry, but also on social causes and a sense of communal responsibility. As one of the leading stars of Hollywood's golden age, Power didn't just create timeless cinematic masterpieces. He also helped shape the image of a film star as a societal leader, inspiring future generations. During World War II, like many of his peers, Power volunteered for military service, leaving behind the glamour of Hollywood to fulfill his duty to his country. With prior flight experience, he trained as a pilot and joined the U.S. Marine Corps, participating in military transport missions in perilous war zones such as Okinawa and Iwo Jima. Unlike some stars who supported the war effort Through morale-boosting performances, Power actively served transporting supplies and evacuating wounded soldiers. His efforts were not merely a citizen's duty, but a reflection of patriotism and responsibility that transcended his fame. Power's films had a strong social influence, often sparking deeper reflection on life's meaning, human aspirations, and the darker aspects of society. Works like The Razor's Edge and Nightmare Alley were not only artistic achievements, but also vehicles for profound human and social commentary. He consistently chose projects not just for their commercial appeal, but for their humanitarian values and the messages they conveyed. His roles often depicted stories of struggle, corruption, and hope, broadening audiences' perspectives on the world around them. He also broke traditional Hollywood boundaries, paving the way for future actors to explore more complex and challenging roles. By stepping away from the archetypal perfect hero, he delved into characters with multidimensional, even dark traits. This shift helped transform the industry's understanding of acting potential, elevating the art of cinema. Off-screen Power was known for his humility and compassion. He frequently participated in charitable activities, donating to organizations supporting veterans and families in need. Though he preferred to keep these acts private, to his friends and colleagues, he was a loyal and dependable companion, always ready to lend support. Stories of his kindness and dedication continue to be shared long after his passing. Despite his brief life, Tyrone Power left an indelible legacy in the realms of cinema and society. He was not merely a symbol of glamour and talent, but an embodiment of responsibility and humanity, a true artist who yearned to contribute meaningfully to the world. His life, though short, burned brightly like a flame that illuminated the path before extinguishing, leaving a lasting glow in the annals of Hollywood history. His roles, spanning thrilling adventures to deeply introspective dramas, remain vibrant in the hearts of audiences, even more than half a century after his passing. Tyrone Power's name continues to shine, cherished by lovers of cinema and Hollywood's rich history. Thank you for accompanying us on this intimate look at Tyrone Power's life and career, a journey filled with triumph and turmoil, culminating in a tragic final act that left Hollywood reeling. We invite you to share your thoughts on his most memorable roles or any personal anecdotes in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more in-depth stories of Hollywood's legendary stars. Together, let's ensure that Tyrone Power's legacy continues to shine, reminding us of the fleeting nature of fame and the profound influence one remarkable life can have on the world of cinema.